For finding the right sources to verify the informations, where can we find them? Because on internet there are a lot of articles with personal opinions in the background. So, do you know not personal thinking articles or sources, books? I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
Bible, of
That's a
course.
good place to start, yeah.
But it was not my question.
No, yeah, this, and again, I'm leaving aside the sort of the spiritual side of this in the sense that I want to focus more on this, on the practical side of discipleship. But yeah, scripture obviously is a good foundational tool. But I think, and let me see if I'll answer your question down the road. Immanuel Kant gave us another philosopher. He gave us some really cool insights about how to discern truth. And so we'll talk about it. If I don't answer that question, bring it up again, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, Nathaniel?
So you described this as no binaries, but they use a lot of critical theory which seems to view everything on binary except for sex. So how is these many narratives non-binary? Or like not binary?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, the idea of well, none of these would be binary in themselves, I wouldn't think. And if they are, because what you do is if you have a binary like an opposite, you just take one away, and then you don't have the other one. So there's nothing to push against. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah.
But these are just some of the issues that we're looking at that they consider social contracts. So now Jessica, I'm saying these are being considered social constructs. What we have to do is question this. And so is morality a social construct, something we make up? And the answer is yes and no. Okay. So sometimes, if you can consider, actually it was Aristotle that came up with the idea. He called it the golden mean. And so if you have what we call a continuum, like a line that goes on, what is good at one level is not good at another level. So but if you can find that golden mean, that golden balance that it enables equilibrium, then all things if is within that will be healthy. So for example, love. Can you have too much love? Maybe over here. Well, over here. Yeah. Too much love. Over here is not enough love, and in the middle is the healthy love, healthy amount of stuff. So most of life can be considered on a continuum. So morality at one level is relative. Morality at another level is absolute. If you believe there's a God. Okay. So for us, God's a big deal. Sorry about that. Yeah. God is a big deal. If you take God out of the equation, right, then you got real problems. Man starting with man, a bad idea. Man starting with God, pretty good idea.
I agree. But if you take God out of the equation, then there's still, like if you think about morality without thinking about God, there still can be the right or wrong.
Yes. Yeah. But it's relative.
Yeah.
It's now relative.
Yeah.
What you think it is.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing out there to compare it against. So we'll talk about this. We're going to briefly talk about Christian worldview. I usually spend a week on that, but we'll do it like 5 minutes. But in the Christian worldview, the first assumption, we get to it, but once you assume that there's a God, now you have an objective source of reality, truth. So everything depends on God in our humanness. Take him away, and then not good. So, these are the things we go through. Science, again, science is a construct. It has to be destroyed. History, education, family, gender, all these things are constructs. All of them have to be destroyed at one level or another. And we're seeing some of these, a lot of these, are being attacked right now. These are good and bad, they're meaning, no objective meaning. Logic is suspect. Religion, there's nothing out there. A religion is just what they Marx call it, the opiate of the people, you know, make them feel better. Science, law, defunding the police. I don't know. I mean, is this applied all in Europe? Is there any kind of a attack against authority or the police or judicial system?
Not really.
Not yet, huh?
No, not that much.
I can't imagine. What about in Switzerland?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
no, Switzerland, but France?
Yeah.
Germany?
France, yeah.
What is the difference?
Yeah.
What is the question, sorry?
Yeah, no, are any of these being done now in your country, in Europe, in France, for example? Are you seeing any of this? Yeah.
He was talking at the same
Yeah.
time. so-
Are you seeing any of these things? I mean, obviously, the whole idea of right and
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
morality.
everywhere in the schools and
Yeah,
English schools, especially English schools.
okay.
Yeah.
And how about Norway? What do you guys have in Norway?
We don't,
Not much,
no, I don't, no.
okay.
Are you specifically talking about the police or are you talking about all of them?
Yeah, UK, is that, what's happening?
A lot of those, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm informed enough to comment, especially on the police. I think there's definitely a movement of anti-authority, but that hasn't moved to the specific topic of defunding the police yet.
Okay. Well, and unfortunately, I think America might be ahead of everybody else in this because we're facing almost every one of these right now. You know, defunding the police, getting the district attorney. The district attorney in America is the one who prosecutes crime, and so we're getting district attorneys now who aren't prosecuting time. They don't prosecute. They won't prosecute the criminal, and they just let them go. And so we're finding that I think almost every one of these is something that, at least in the United States right now, is either really coming on or it's getting ready to come on. So, so here's kind of an overview. You have Marxism, and you have the Frankfurt School, Ludwig, going into the postmodern nihilistic idea. And then we have, there we go. Now we have these guys coming along. And these are the neo-progressives. Now, the interesting thing is, you guys, it was almost exactly 100 years ago that we were in this same situation. In the 1923, it's now what, 2024? 100 years ago, the Frankfurt School first met, and they came together. The neo-progressives, about, from 1900 to 20 or so, here we are, 100 years later. Now we've got the neo-progressives that are pushing the agenda. It's not the philosophers' agenda, they're all dead now, but it's the neo-progressives that are pushing the agenda. And here's some of the guys. We talked about this a little bit the other day. The idea with progressive is we want to make the world a better place. And so Soros, it's a very, I think I talked a little bit about Soros yesterday. I don't remember.
No.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Maybe it was somebody else. I might have talked to myself too. George Soros is a really interesting character. Jewish again, and you were there, why am I against? No, I love it. It's where I spent 15 years in the Middle East, working in Israel, part of it. I was responsible for why I was working in Israel for a long time. So I love the Jews. I don't have a problem with Jews. It's just that it happens to be that a lot of these people who are influential are all Jewish. And so George Soros was born in Hungary, in Budapest, in 1931, I think it was. And that was not a good time for Jews to be in Hungary. But his family stayed. They pretended to be Christians and made it through the whole war. Now, there are questions as to how their Jewish family happened to be able to escape being captured. A lot of it, the rumor is that they were informers on other Jews. And obviously, if they informed on it, then part of the deal was they got their property and money, well, that, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just one of the rumors that's out there. But anyway, George Soros, super brilliant guy, unbelievably brilliant. Went off to the UK, went to the University of London and studied economics. But his real passion, ever since he was young, his real passion, he wanted to be a philosopher. And while he was at the University of London, he met a guy, a philosopher who was also Austrian, but he was living in England, named Karl Popper. Now, Karl Popper had an idea about, in his philosophy, is that what we should do is destroy all rules, take away all the rules, and let everybody live in what he called an open society. So his whole idea, his philosophy was known as the open society philosophy. Interestingly enough, later on we'll find that the name of George Soros's foundations, through which he has now funneled, from 1979 till the present, he has funneled about $32 billion through his foundation called the Open Society Foundation. So that gives you a hint of where he's going with this. And so he became instead an economist. Well, he became an entrepreneur. He made billions and billions of dollars doing all kinds. He almost ran the Bank of England back in the day. He had a corner on the silver market, and was able to. So anyway, very wealthy guy. He's now in his 90s, but his whole idea. And I won't play the clip. It's a little long. But in this clip, he says he sees himself as God. And that ever since he was a young boy, he had this premonition that he was actually a deity, and that he was to use this divine gift, shall we say, into making the world a better place. And by his definition, making the world a better place is by deconstructing all of the social order, and then just let every man. Now this would work great if every human being was, so we say, good, healthy, not greedy, not, if the human being was perfect, this might work. Who needs rules if everybody's perfect? But in this case, we found that human nature is such that it's probably not going to work very well. And Elon Musk, some of you may have heard of him. I don't know if I've got Elon's clip or not, but he says, and he knows George Soros pretty well. They've done a lot of business together. He said, George Soros hates humanity. His goal is to destroy humanity. That's the best way to make sure that we don't destroy the earth, is by, and by the way, if you're not a theist, if you don't believe God exists, these guys are right. Okay? Most postmodern philosophers, they're right. They're right if there's no God. Do it, yeah. We're just, human beings are only another species, right? Nothing, there are a lot of species have gotten extinct over the millions and millions of years. So what difference does it make if human beings go extinct? If we're going to save, if we're causing the world to perish, if we're destroying the world, the most rational thing to do is do away with humanity. Then the world will go on living with all kinds of creatures and everything else, just no people. And I mean, there's dinosaurs that lived for a while and then they're gone. What's the big deal? So, this is what we're kind of up against. And then Bill Gates, his whole thing is, again, he's actually come out and said the world's overpopulated. We need to reduce the population by at least 2 or 3 billion people. Well, how do you do that? But see, but what we've seen is, and I'm not a conspiratorialist at all, but I do try to at least suss out what's true as best I can figure it out, and work on that mission. I'm not trying to influence anybody politically one way or the other, because I'm what's called unaffiliated. I'm not left or right, I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican. I'm just trying to find the golden mean here. Trying to find the neutral way forward based on what I understand to be true.